User173 here. Today we're gonna circuit bend the Casio SK1. Yeah, it's an old 80s synthesizer. It's really awesome, and as is. But once you circuit bend it, it can get really glitchy. So we're gonna take some old test leads and some switches and a potentiometer, and we're gonna do all kinds of cool stuff. So let's do it. Cool. We're back. Time to do some more fun DIY stuff. In this case, we're going to do some circuit bending. This is the Casio SK1, and it's really cool. Powered on like that. Here's your little volume. It's got a speaker. We're probably going to take that out, though. It can also sample from the microphone here. It sounds a bit like, like a toy synth. So yeah. Anyway, it's got like a fun little rhythm select thing. So you can do kind of beats, tempo, select it. You can choose different rhythms. Piano's pretty terrible. You can do some envelope selections to change some things, but the point is we're gonna circuit bend this, and here's what you need to do it. Obviously a battery powered toy or synthesizer such as this. It'll be the same for just about anything, because what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be doing a lot of exploring. We're gonna use some leads. You could use just a piece of wire with the ends exposed, but I'm just gonna use these because these are kind of nice. They sort of clip on to little points and then it's easier to touch around, or you can use some alligator clips. We're going to use a bunch of switches to attach points to, so when we flip the switch it'll glitch out. I always like to have some alcohol and some Q-tips because I haven't taken this apart yet and I don't know what the board looks like in there. If you open it up and you do find a bunch of flux on there, which is part of the soldering process, flux facilitates a better heat transfer between the solder gun and the component. The flux over time can damage your circuit board, so I would just remove some of that if that's there. Because I work on tape machines, I do have a bunch of old RCA jacks, spare RCA jacks, so we're going to use those as touch points here. You could drill directly into this speaker thing, but I think I have some old cigar boxes that I bought because they make actually really great boxes for synthesizers, for custom synthesizers, but I'm going to use this lid for a guitar box or cigar box. Probably shave this off. It's going to have to be a little bit smaller, but as you can see, it's kind of like a perfect fit, especially if I cut it right at this line. And we'll attach these all over here, so you'll be able to basically either use alligator clips to or touch between points to basically circuit bend it. As always, you need a screwdriver. I always have a knife handy. A glue gun might be handy for this. Of course, your solder kit, so you need a solder gun. And stuff like that. Solder sucker is helpful. Probably won't really need the solder sucker. Get your coffee, that's helpful. And I'm going to put links in the description below for some resources, but I saw a guy online that was doing a Moog circuit bending challenge about 4 years ago, and he circuit bent this keyboard, so I actually got the idea of doing a neat little true pitch bend from him, so we're going to do that. But he also had a cool idea of basically taking a photo of your internal board, so I did open this up really quickly to take this photo, but just to show you, I printed it out, and this will be a great place to, when we make bends, to mark on here where the bends are, so that we will then put them all together. I'm going to show a parts list here, a complete parts list and like I said, there'll be links in the description below, so go ahead and check that out. But in the meantime, I'll show that while we're taking this apart here. This thing comes apart really easily. The battery pack is here. You might want to take the batteries out first, because when I did open this up to take that photo and just kind of get a glance around, yeah, the batteries will pop out once you open this. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, like 11 screws you have to undo to get this apart. I find the precision screwdriver that I've talked about before was really, really good. So we'll just unscrew this really quick. And then while I do that, I'm going to fast forward and then I'm going to show you the parts list right now. So cool. Okay, I think that's all of them. So we got all our screws taken out here. Probably want to put those in a bag or something so you don't lose them. And like I said, I've already taken this apart to take a photo and then just to try it out while it was open. But anyway, whoops, and we lost it. But anyway, the way we're going to do this to test this out and glitch it out is basically you just find a point, and as you can see, hopefully this is in frame. So I've just grabbed a point. Okay, these 2 points alone, when you just touch these two, they do like a quick little fill, which is neat. Whoops, I just glitched it. I'm gonna try that with something else, like the brass sound. Alright, I gotta find a method for holding this bad boy up. There we go. Let's try a different point. Alright, I'm just gonna have to... Man, I really want to try something different. That sounds cool. I like that one. I like that. Awesome. All right, yeah, so it looks like I'm gonna... I Ay, ay, ay. Fun. Okay, that's fun. So 2 up on this right side, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up there. So we're gonna just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we'll just circle this one, and then, jeez, I already forgot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I thought it was like 2 up, yeah, like that one. And then 2 up here. So what you're gonna do, you can probably barely see it on here, but I can see it, is make little symbols or whatever, and just mark where you want to connect points. Okay, so the 6th one that we marked previously works well with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you could also say, oh, hey, well, that one, you know, pairs well with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Anyway, we're going to go through and we're going to go ahead and just mark a bunch of points, and then I'll show you at the end what I did. And like I said in the intro, this is literally just about curiosity. You can't really break it. I mean, with anything, when you're circuit bending, you might damage it, but I don't think you'll damage this. It's battery powered, so you're pretty safe. Don't do anything that's wall powered unless you know exactly what you're doing. I wouldn't recommend it though. Okay, we're back. Super cool. So what I've done is I've went ahead and I printed out a couple copies of these so that I could make some mistakes and find points that I liked or didn't like. And then I went ahead and tested over those points and reinforced them and mapped them out a little bit better here. And I'm going to end up having 30 contact points. Okay, I'm going to show you really quickly how to tin a wire, which is, I think, going to be essential for this. And I'm going to be using a solder gun, so as always, use it in a well-ventilated area. Try not to breathe too much of the fumes because solder contains a rosin core generally, which is flux, and that stuff can be agitating to the lungs. It is also comprised of lead, but lead doesn't really turn into a gaseous form at any temperature you will be working with, so don't worry about that. However, you still don't want to be breathing it. So well-ventilated area. Also wear eye protection. I'm wearing my glasses, so they're good enough, but it will pop and sputter, and you don't want to get solder in your eye. I've actually had it happen, so it does happen. A cheap solder gun will do fine. If you're going to be doing a lot of work, a cheap solder gun is garbage because it will go bad fast. But also you want to buy a cleaner like this. Don't use a wet sponge. This is like a brass, like little metal sponge type thing, and you just gotta dip this in here to clean the tip. See how clean the tip is already? Because it was oxidizing a little bit. Usually 60-40 is a fine type solder. I like using 60-40, which is 60-40-10 lead. Wash your hands before and after, or after, and especially before eating anything, and try not to do it with any food around, okay? So the first thing we'll cover is, for the wires, I'm going to use this brown color for all the switches, so we'll start with that. And the farthest switch from where I'm going to be placing these is here, so basically I don't need them to be too long, but I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra room here. Like so. So I have plenty of room for my switch, and I already stripped this one. The way you strip a wire is, my little solder kit came with this little wire stripper, and it's got like little gauge holes. Makes it very convenient, but if you don't have that, you don't need it. You can just use like needle nose pliers. You should have a pair of these. They have like a little cutting area, right? The way I like to do it is on this side, you can see how much of it is sticking out, so how long you want it. And then you can basically, don't cut all the way because it'll cut all the way through, but you cut enough to bite into it, and you just pull, and it strips right off. So you have this. And then you just kind of give it a little twist, and then the way you're going to tin a wire is you're going to want to heat it up a little bit first by touching it to the solder gun. And then you're going to just take and run it along the solder like that. Sorry about the smoke. That's what I mean, well ventilated area. I'll be doing most of this off camera, and I'll be doing it with the windows open, but right now I have stuff closed because of noise. But again, to show you how to tin the tip of this, I just use some solder like this. It might be hard to see with this background, sorry, but and then I'm just touching the solder and the tip at the same time, like pushing against the solder tip like that. And you'll see the you probably can't see in this video, but you'll definitely see the solder run into the piece. And now, as you may or may not be able to see, this piece of wire would no longer fray the individual strands because it's covered with solder. And what that does is, in the case of attaching to, say, a switch, I know that we want to switch between these 2 points here. So I'm going to go ahead and just briefly, I have limited space, so I'm going to just pull this forward a little bit. My solder gun doesn't reach that far, so anyway. So the switch we're going to be doing is going to run between this point and this point. So, oh boy, my solder gun is really stuck here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we got the third one up, and all you're going to do is just touch the component really briefly. And then, and actually, I don't want too much wire exposed, so I'm going to cut a little bit off away from this because we don't want wire floating around in there. So I want it to be fairly short so that when it's on here, it's not going to short against other things. So maybe even shorter than that. Yeah. And the way we're going to do this is, like I said, this is already tinned, so it should connect really quickly. I'm going to just touch the component. It's going to heat up instantly. Helps if your tip is clean. It'll transfer heat better. But as you can see, it's on there. Okay, we're back. This is the cigar box that I bought that this came on. I think it's going to be great. This little lip here can either be sanded off, or I can probably just break this piece off because I want this to actually be a little bit thinner than it is. This is just a piece of wood glued on there. But anyway, I like these things. I think these would be great for making little drone synthesizers as well. So I'm thinking about making one of those next. But I'm just getting the components right now from like Mouser Electronics. I want to make a little 3 oscillator synth with a sort of an LFO and a filter. So it's like a little drone thing that we can manipulate with an LFO, and it has a filter on it as well. So I think that's going to be really cool. Anyway, but I'm able to just flip this over, and it's sort of braced on there. So this will be really easy to use as a drill point. But what you want to do is you want to use a smaller drill than you're going to need and drill your pilot holes. Like that. Yeah. So you got your little pilot holes drilled, and then you want to switch up the drill bit and match the size of one of these. Okay, quick little update. Went ahead and built out this panel like I told you it would. I basically just drilled the holes as you saw, and then I left it rough like this because I kind of like the way it looks. And then I took a Dremel and just cleaned the edges and sanded this one down since I don't have a saw handy with me. So it looks a little wobbly, but I kind of like that. And I'm reconsidering how I'm going to run the wires. I think I'm going to eventually remove the speaker, but I'll keep it in for now so that we can test things out. But I'm thinking I'm going to eventually remove the speaker and just make a hole big enough to run the cables through, and then I'm going to build like a little side piece so it attaches permanently on here. But yeah, and this is kind of what it looks like. I've cut off all the little ends here, and I'm going to be able to take the wire that I pre-solder, and I'm going to be able to stick it under there and then just quickly solder it on. So that's going to be a great little board. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this board off, make sure I'm in frame. Yeah. Like I've said in the past, I totally advocate for using a small plastic bag to hold on to your screws, so that when you put this back together, you don't say, oh shit, where are my screws? Yeah, this is the underside of it. And then we're just going to drill all the holes right here. So I've already started marking it, and I know that the holes I'm going to use are 1, so I'm going to go, yeah, let's get to drilling. Just go slow with this, and make sure you don't start it, look, realize maybe it's a little off. That looks pretty good. Boom. One's done. Take a look at it. So it's a little bit to the right. We're going to want to go a little bit more over, I think. Oh, I lost the button. Change it out for medium to final size. So, not quite final size, but somewhere in between what we just used. This will help drill out the hole a little bit better, and then hopefully some of the ones that are a little less straight we can straighten. Should totally be able to fix this. It's kind of all over the place. So this one's nearly perfect. Okay, so to fix this, we're going to take our hot boy Dremel, and we're just going to straighten that out a bit. Okay, cool. Now we're going to switch to the bigger drill bit and make these holes the size they need to be. And that size is the 1/4. That's the one we dremeled out. And I'm just checking to make sure that it's cool. And it is. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to solder them up, but they're going to fit right in there like that. And we're going to go ahead and now and solder these, all the switches, and we'll drill the hole for this guy. well. There. Cool. So that's gonna go right there. We'll get that all set up, and the next one we're just gonna wire everything up now. So let's get to that. Okay, here's I put it together really quickly to make sure that all the holes that I drilled and where I put the switches is good and not bumping into the circuit board or anything. So yeah, you want to do some testing a little bit first and make sure, double check your measurements. I know I was doing it sloppily, but I've done this before. And you can tell it doesn't look perfect. There is like a little post here. That's why there's a gap like this. And I'm using so many that I wasn't able to space it properly, but I like it. I think it's fine. I think it looks cool. And this is gonna look really cool once I probably get a sandpaper block and just make sure that these are really straight. Because the Dremel is round and it just kind of makes a wobbly line. I don't recommend it. I just take a piece of sandpaper, put it on a flat block, and just until it's completely straight. Okay, so one thing we're going to need to make the potentiometer work for the pitch control is you're going to need a LTC, I think it's 1799. I'm going to confirm that and then I'll mention it again. But I bought it from circuitbenders.co.uk, and it's cheap enough to just buy it and not have to worry about. It's just got like a little IC chip on it, and it's a little circuit board. But yeah, I got 3 of them because I'm going to circuit bend a couple other toys, and it basically provides a stable oscillation. And you know, this is like a nice way to clock, replace the clock signal on this and then override it. I'm not a brainiac who invented this. This is like well documented in a few places. I'll put links below. Like Great Bit, I think it is where he does a really cool back in 2016 mod that I'm following some of his patch points and stuff, and he uses this as well, and he didn't get it. This is all well documented in some books. So I'll provide links for everything below, but you might want to check out Great Bit's video as well and what he does to get like his stuff working. And he makes it so you can actually touch all the patch points with your fingers and transmit. Mine's probably just going to take use of these alligator clips. I prefer that. It's kind of like patching a modular system. But anyway, these are the little chips that you need. They're very small. It provides a stable clock, and along with the potentiometer and hooking it up to power, we're going to get a really nice pitch control. So okay, we're back, and I'm going to drill just a couple more holes because I need to install a little switch. Amazon sent me the wrong switch. I ordered these. They're supposed to be on, and as you can see, this is a 3 position, which is an on, off, on. So I'm going to see if it works. I think it will. It just kind of sucks because I don't want that. So I've ordered a couple more, but I'll just replace it when the other one comes in. But in the interest of getting the show on the road, I'm going to show you how to do it with this switch. Then we're going to wire up the little oscillator and to the potentiometer so we can do a pitch control. And I'll do a nice little video of all that. I've prepared all my wires, so we're just going to solder those all to the board. I'm going to probably skip past that process because it's literally just soldering to the board. You saw me do these. I've prepared all these ahead of time, color coded, so I know where they're all going to go. I'll show you that when it's done. But yeah, it's all looking pretty good. I'm just going to drill a hole right here as well, and because we removed the speaker, and that's where I'm going to on the other side attach all the wires to this. They're going to run through there and then to this side, and then we will attach it to the outside there. So let's do this really quick. Again, I measured what size I need. I'm going to start with a pilot hole, and on this one I'm going to drill it just kind of over here in the corner so it doesn't interfere with the I don't want it interfering with the potentiometer and getting in the way of the knob or anything like that. So simple as that. I'm going to start the other hole that goes right here, but I think I can use a bigger drill for that, because the hole I'm going to make there is going to need to be dremeled out and made much bigger. And I don't have a drill bit currently the right size, so I could have probably, now that I've sized it, I could have probably put it up higher and it would have looked a little bit nicer, but whatever, dude. It's my first time doing this and I'm gonna like it, so yeah. I'm gonna stop the video now and then I'm gonna Dremel out this hole just a little bit bigger. It's just a matter of taking the Dremel and making the hole bigger, and then I'm going to solder on all these wires, and then the last thing we'll do is start attaching everything, and I'll shoot a video of that. And I'll definitely shoot a specific video just after this of how to attach this. Alright, I want to just go ahead and attach the ground and the power that we're going to need and cut the lead for the for this little guy. This little guy, we're going to wire this all up. So, yeah, let's do this. So the power, I'm just double checking on my schematic here, that we're going to need to add is going to be over here, and it's going to be this one right here. I'm going to make sure it's in frame. Yeah, we can see. So it's right by this little symbol that has the, looks like a little serial number and whatnot. So we're just going to attach the power there right now. Boss level. There you go. It's attached. Now we attach the ground. And the ground goes right here. Yeah, you can see it's got a little chassis area. You can see the little chassis sticking through. And that's where that goes. So we're just going to attach that guy. And we're attached. Cool. And then the ground goes here. So it's this one right here. Just like that. Cool. Now we got the ground attached. Now we're going to attach the power, which goes right next to it. And just making sure I'm still in frame. There's nothing worse than recording these and getting it done and then being like, oh, I was out of frame. There we go. Same thing with this bad boy. I'm just going to try to put a little heat on it to tack it on there really quick. There, oops. Yeah, now it's stuck a little bit, so that's going to allow me to, again, you're going to apply the heat to the component, and then you're going to place the solder on it, and then you're going to remove really quickly. So we're going to apply heat. Oops. Alright, so in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this helping hands. These are really great. They're like a series of little alligator clips on movable arms. And that's going to allow me to put this in there and it's going to stay. So I don't have to like worry about it dropping out or something like that. So we're going to... What I do want to make sure is that it doesn't fuse to the ground. If that makes sense. So I want to make sure that it's definitely facing away from the ground. And clean our tip. That way we can get some fast moving solder. There we go. Inspect our work. Now you feel how hot things get. They get hot pretty quickly. It's nice to invest in a little pair of side cutters like this, and you can snip off these little long ends, and don't do it over your electronics, obviously. There. I'm just trying to clean those little ends up so they're not hanging off too far. But now we have the ground attached. And if we wanted, we could start attaching the wires that are going to go to the potentiometer. But before I do that, well, we can do that right now. So I got the wires that are going to go to the potentiometer. And yeah, same process again. Clean the tip really quick. And then we're just going to apply heat, apply the solder, remove. Apply heat, apply the solder, remove. I just don't think that was a nice connection. There we go. The helping hands, the one that I bought, also comes with a little magnifying glass, so that will help you to inspect and make sure that everything is looking kosher. Now that we have that attached, the next thing we could do is we could attach the potentiometer. So the way this is going to work is we're only going to use 2 of the legs, so these 2 here on the left. And I'm going against my own rules, and I'm soldering on this, and I'm doing it over my board, so that's kind of a bad idea. But I'm going to do it anyway because don't want to have limited space and limited time right now. So I think I'm going to heat these components up and try to get a little bit of solder on there to start them. You know, it's just a matter of tinning this as well. I love to use these little heat shrink tubes. Super, super useful. You just cut them to size or whatever, and then you're just going to use a little bit of flame to shrink them. But what that's going to do in this case is it's going to make just a little stronger connection between the wires and the potentiometer leg. All right, let's try this again. Okay, that's on there. And then with these, you just use a little lighter like this, and I'll show you here. And voila. You can, wipe it off and it comes pretty clean. But they're nice because they just help to kind of keep that connection pretty clean, as you can see there. Cool, so now we have the ground and the power attached to this and the potentiometer attached. Now we just have to attach the switch. And yeah, we'll do that here in a second. Okay, now we're going to do the switch, and this is going to be so that this thing, you can tune it. There's a knob that you can tune it with, and then you want it in tune. But if you're going to do a pitch control, you want to always make sure you know how to get back to tune. So the switch is nice to turn off the pitch control so that it goes right back to the original tune. So what I've done is we need an 8K resistor, and I've hooked one end so that it's easier to put in here. And just, just gonna hold this here like that. And I'm just going to take a little bit of solder. I'm going to heat the area, add some solder, and it's connected. So when I release, should be good. Then we're going to take one of our wires. I put some heat shrink on it. And we're going to just line these guys up. And I don't need that much room on this, so I'm going to cut a little bit off. Like that. And this could be a little tricky. You want to make sure that this is kind of held in place so you can add some solder to it if you need to. Good. Good, good, good. It's on there pretty sturdy. And as always, I can heat shrink it to make it even more sturdy. All right. Great. So what we have now is we have a switch. You want an on-on switch, a 3-position. So there's 3 poles, and on-on. This one's on-off. See how it's in a center position? That's off. We don't want that, but you know what? We're going to have to live with it right now. And we're going to see if it works. If it doesn't, I have some other on order, and I'll fix it. But the place that these get attached is next to our ground, right over here. And they're... looking at my schematic, always look at your schematic. They're this one and this one, and we're gonna have to cut this little thing there. I don't know if you can see on here, but this is where we place the ground, and then this is these little runs we're gonna have to cut, and we're gonna have to connect them. And the one that attaches to the switch, you know, the one that we just did with the resistor, is the one closest to the ground. So let's attach that one now. It's a bit long. That's what she said. And we're gonna attach it. I'm gonna see if I wanna, maybe I wanna like have it go off at an angle so it's not touching anything else. There, that's on there. Cool, so now we have the switch attached to the proper thing, and then we're gonna attach the other one now. Again, you don't need these leads to be quite so long because we're gonna, you know, we don't want them bending around too much. We're gonna add some hot glue over these to, I think it's a really good idea to do something like that to protect these from getting all gross and stuff. So or possibly breaking. Cool, that one went on nice. All right, so now we have both of our switches attached, and effectively what this has to do is go to here. I'm going to hook it again like I did the resistor. And that's in fact how we're going to do attach to all the switches. Make a nice little hook, and then this goes on the center post. And you could even, clamp that down so it's on there nice. And then just, hold this guy in place. And then, since these are already, since these were already tinned, you can just apply a little heat and then it sticks. And then you can just run some solder over your component like that. And yay, now we have a really nice switch connected. So when it's going to be in this position, these two will be engaged. And we're going to cut this little run here, and that's effectively going to connect these points. So as I mentioned, this little run right here has to be cut in half. So just take your little knife and that's pretty good. That's definitely cut. So now the only way for this thing to work is it has to be in this position, the switch. And then the last thing is we need to connect this switch, which will be placed very near the this guy. We need to run, let's see here, make sure I got this the right orientation, and this bad boy needs to go through here. And you can kind of, if you want, you can kind of bend this over like that, and that'll help hold it into place for when you're soldering. I'm just following along with someone else's diagram of how to do this, so I will link you everything in the description that you need to possibly do this. There. Alright, that's done. Sorry if it's a little dark. I think I should have, yeah, gosh darn it. I'm sorry about that, guys. I should have done two lamps, but I'm gonna have diagrams of all this. It's gonna be very clear. But what I've effectively done is I've taken this thing, and the orientation you want is there's a little like IC chip on here, and that's to the left, and I've placed a ground, a power, then I've gone these two to my potentiometer, and then this one is gonna go off of here to the switch, and it's going to go to this final leg right here. So we're going to hook this. Again, needle nose pliers, man, it's super great. Everybody needs anybody who's doing anything needs a set of needle nose pliers. And again, I apologize if it was dark. I usually set up 2 lamps, but it's really hot right now in LA. And I'm dying. Yeah, so because yeah, these lamps get kind of hot, but I'm just whining now. Sorry about that. So yeah, then we're just gonna apply heat, apply your solder, remove, and we're set. So now what this is going to do is this is going to, when we go to this position, it's going to connect to this circuit, and run to the thing. Now what I'm not clear on, and we're gonna have to figure this out together, is it appears to me that people have welded together these two little connectors right here. Like they've just like connected those runs. I'm not sure if I have to or not, but it looks very clearly in the diagram that's what was done. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do it, and we're gonna find out if that's in fact what was needed to be done. Oh Jesus! Oh man, that was stupid. Ha! Wow, that got really hot. So yeah, the heat transfers real fast between these. Oh boy. There we go. That's what I wanted. Alright, so I've connected it by just clipping a little teeny piece of wire and allowing it to goop up on that on the there. So if that doesn't work, I can always just remove that. But I think by looking at the diagram that I'm looking at, that's the way it needs. So cool, we've wired up our cool little pitch shifter. Done. Now all I gotta do is wire up all the patch points and the switches, and we're done. Well, we're near the end. What I've done is I've connected, as you can see, the all the wires to the bottom casing of the RCA connectors, and they're all screwed down nice and tight. And then I'm just going to add some solder to them, just a little dollop, and then probably a little bit of hot glue to make sure that it stays nice and tight. My solder gun's just warming up right now. Seems to be hot enough. I got my fan going, and we're literally just going to place a little bit of solder on there. Like that. Like that. Cool. I'm going to go through and solder the rest of these, but this is just a quick note to show you what I did. I also soldered everything on the inside, and then I hot glued it, and yeah. So you can see how the wires are. I hot glued all these down so they're nice stable connections. I did find a mistake right here, so I'm going to rip that hot glue off and then just resolder it. It was just kind of glitching out when I didn't want it to glitch out. But yeah, that was the area, the troubled area. I would recommend, if you did this in the future, that you think it out a little bit better than I did. I think these wires are too heavy of a gauge. I mean, they're not, they really aren't technically, but because there's so many connectors, maybe do 15 instead of 30, because it's kind of hard to close with all these wires. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to route these properly so it closes up nicely, because it seems that, you know, on this board it's so sensitive. If you even touch it, like you can glitch things out, and I think when these are pushing on it when it's closed, it's kind of causing a little bit of glitching. So anyhow, I'm gonna figure that all out off camera, because I'm not gonna waste your time. I think this video is long enough. But yeah, just remember when soldering, you know, just always clean the tip, then tin it a little bit. Just get a little bit of solder on there. That helps transfer the heat much more rapidly. You place the solder on the component, hold it and heat it for a second, add the solder, release, like that. Put it on there, heat it, add the solder, release. Okay, here we are with the completed design. Really cool. I've got this all attached now permanently. I still need to screw the screws in. On the bottom, I need to probably finagle a few wires because it's a little bit tight in there. But for the most part, yeah, it's really great. It's working. Yeah, this is super cool. As you can see, you can use the alligator clips to do some other patch points. And then I have like a, right here I've installed sort of like a safety switch, so if anything glitches out and it gets stuck, then I'm able to switch it back to normal without turning it off and on. See how that glitches, that combo? But if it stays glitched, I can switch it off and on. Oh, that sounds cool. Like that's glitched. See how it's stuck? And then I can, and just... And then right here I have a drum mute. I have the drums running, as you can hear. And I'll turn this down because I have a drum boost as well. So you can see it makes the drums a little bit louder. And so I can use more alligator clips to do more connections if I wanted. I'm just going to keep it with one right now because it will allow me to explore and figure out, start to remember which do which. I've attached this to the thing, so yeah, it's all permanently attached. I love this thing. That sounds so cool. So that's sort of like a freeze right there. That's a really cool combo. It's almost like very Aphex Twin. Wow, that sounds so cool. My safety switch is pretty darn good. I like the samba rhythm, it's pitched down. So like you can see right there, my safety switch really works well, man. I'm super happy I found that. And the way I found that, here again, drum mute right here. And the way I found that is I was just tapping points, and when it glitched out permanently, instead of just power cycling, I tried to find other points I could touch that made it restart. And I found that point and I made it a permanent switch, and it's right here spaced a little bit away from these, so I know exactly how to, you know, I remember it's the one that I want to use. Yeah, there's the drum beat. Again, drum mute is really great because you can turn it off and play. I mean, I'm really loving this thing. And again, you don't have to attach these, you can just touch. And yeah, you could even plot like what all these various points do. Oh, that sounds... Wow. I like that texture it was giving it. Let's see if we can... I found one earlier when I was testing this out before I started shooting this video that I don't remember where it's at. I was actually just touching the wires before I connected this thing all together, and it was giving like such a gritty, staticky texture to it. It was really cool. That one freezes it. Oh man. And the cool thing is with the pitch is the tempo still works for the rhythm, so you can speed it up. This might be glitching it out. There we go. So you can see I can slow it down. I can speed it up. So even if I have this, and portamento still works. So. Anyway, my timing's a little bit off, but yeah, you get the point. You get the point. That there's a lot of possibilities. I'm gonna start basically. This is my first time ever building one of these. I'm really stoked. I've made some mistakes, but I'm happy with what I did. Great. You can hear my alley outside. People peeling out. Anyway, I made some mistakes. Definitely learning experience for sure. What I would do next time is I would have wired up the patch bay first and then ran all the wires inside, and that way they weren't like twisted around. Because right now I had them all connected and then I wired them and they're all kind of sort of twisted around, which is unfortunate because it kind of makes it harder to close. You can buy like old telephone ribbon cable and they have several different wires on it. Maybe use those because they're already like nice and flat, and you can just fray the ends where you're connecting it. That's probably a smarter way to have done it. I would have measured a little bit better some of these because you can see how some of them are a little closer together than others. It's kind of tight space in there, but I've noticed people have put switches on the outsides before. I just didn't like that. I wanted to keep a clean profile on the sides as much as possible. I wanted all my switches up top. Yeah. Again, I was sent the wrong switch by Amazon. It was this is a 3-position on, off, on switch. You want a 3-pole on switch. So I reordered some new ones. Those are on the way, so I'm just going to install that as soon as it comes in. But I really love this pitch control. I mean, I can't believe how awesome this is, and the way it just makes this thing sound. Overall, like through all the wiring and stuff, I think there's a little teeny bit of like natural glitchiness, so sort of distorted the natural tone of this thing a little bit. You can hear just slightly like a little computer noise or something inside of it. It's not terrible. It's not really bothering me because I'm not going to be using this as a pure like, you know, just toy synthesizer anymore. I've definitely sampled it before, and I can always just buy another one if I wanted to use one just kind of pure. And this is my first build, so definitely some mistakes, some things I can improve, and I would recommend that you just try doing it yourself because, you know, what do you have to lose? These aren't very expensive. It's a really fun project to do, and it's something you've built yourself, and you can just have endless fun with this thing, as you can tell. I did have to remove the speaker in the end just for the way I wanted the patch bay to be done. So that's a little bit of a bummer because it's not attached to a speaker anymore. However, you could just run a cable out to a speaker externally if you really wanted to do that. I also didn't put in a 1/4-inch jack because, you know, the speaker wires that were connected to this, you could definitely connect it and drill in like a 1/4-inch jack if you wanted that. I don't need that. I have plenty of mini stereo cables, so I can just go out of the back here to whatever my, you know, thing is. Or you can plug your headphones in and just play this thing like I was playing it last night after I had basically completed it and wanted to make sure it was working, and I was having a complete blast. I got lost in it till like 3 in the morning. So until my girlfriend had to come out and be like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah. So there it is. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me in the comments below. You can also connect to my Instagram, which is user.173, and you can ask me questions via direct message there. And also, I have a Patreon, so if you feel like giving me a tip and, you know, helping me to continue to make these videos, maybe get a better light set and a better camera so I can start making nicer looking videos, you can always contribute there. That would be really, really grateful. But as always, please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, and, you know, feel free to comment in the sections below. I'm cool with feedback. And also, please like, share, and subscribe. As Enrique Martinez says, you know, share the love, share the knowledge. Knowledge is power. Peace.